First story is titled, Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents they only have one daughter and she is 6 feet in the ground? Original story. This all started when I was 12 years old and my younger sister was 10. Let's call her Abby. Well, Abby started to get sick and no one in the family knew what was going on. I started to be dropped off at my grandparents as they went to different doctors. I'm not going to go into her illness, but when the doctor figured it out, it was bad. So a lot of time was devoted to my sister. When I was 14, it got worse, and I started to be left at my grandparents for longer periods of time. It started with just staying the weekend, and then maybe the whole week. I would bring it up, and they told me that they have to focus on Abby. Soon, I was staying there for months, and by the time I was 16, I was basically living there full-time. I would maybe see them every other month. If I texted them the whole thing, the same response was always sent. We need to focus on Abby right now. I'm 19 now, and Abby has passed away from her illness. Her funeral was 2 weeks ago, and I attended through FaceTime. I got a call today from my parents, and they wanted to meet up and be a family again. I told them that they abandoned one child for another. I'm not their child anymore, that they only have one daughter and she is 6 feet under the ground now. I soon hung up. I've been getting texts calling me an a-hole and that I should understand that they needed to focus on Abby and to suck it up basically. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Was it harsh? Yes. Was it deserved? Also, yes. While I can sympathize with dealing with a terminally ill child, they still had another child that needed their love and attention too. A child that was losing her little sister, probably scared and lonely, and then freaking abandoned for 7 years. Yes, Abby needed them, but you did too, and they failed you miserably. And they failed Abby too, who might have enjoyed a relationship with her sister in the few years she did have to live. This is what I keep coming back to. It's unconscionably cruel to keep two siblings from spending time with each other while one is dying. I cannot imagine dying and not being able to have my sister around. This honestly brings tears to me. Not a a-hole. As a parent who had a terminally ill child, I made sure that my other kids still knew that I loved them, and even organized people to sit with my child in the hospital while I spent quality time with my other kids. It's hard being a parent, knowing that your child is going to die, but you don't ever push away your other kids. I'm so sorry that you were abandoned by your parents, and I'm sending you huge hugs and love right now. You have every right to be angry at them, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, as none of them were in your shoes. Take time to grieve for your sister and your lost relationship. And most importantly, please be kind to yourself. You do matter. Not the a-hole. While having a seriously ill child is challenging and will often take priority, it doesn't give your parents license to simply send their other child away and stop parenting them. They abandoned you, and now that your sister has passed away, they want to rug sweep their behavior and play happy family. It's completely understandable that you do not want to have a relationship with them. Therapy may be beneficial for you to process losing your entire immediate family. They need to respect your boundaries. Sorry for your loss, and good luck. They're treating her like a book they left on the nightstand. Now, 7 years later, they want to pick it up and go, "All right, where did I live off?" You can't do that with people. And now for the update. So, it's been around a month since I posted the original post. Thanks to everyone that gave their input. So after the post, I wrote a very long letter explaining my feelings about how my parents treated me and how they abandoned me for 7 years. I talked about all the major events that they missed and all the years that I could have been with my sister but couldn't due to their decision. That I haven't been part of the family ever since Abby got sick all those years ago. I talked about how my grandparents are more parents to me than they have been in these past years. That no matter the reason, they discarded me and acted as if their other kid didn't need their parents. That you may have lost Abby recently, but I lost my whole family a long time ago. And that I'm not going to give an empty apology for what I said on the phone. I sent this letter, and it was radio silent for a bit. And in the meantime, I went to my first on-campus college semester and started to use the free therapy. My parents contacted me and asked if I would like to get dinner and to hear them out. I agreed. It was a very long conversation that boiled down to I'm willing to try to get to know my parents again under 2 conditions, and if they don't agree with them, I'm going to walk away since they are basically strangers at this point. 1, that we start to go to family therapy. 2, that they don't try to parent me. That position is for my grandparents only, and I'm willing to try a relationship with them, but it won't be a parent-child relationship. They don't seem happy with these conditions, but accepted. We went to our first family session a few days ago, and our relationship is still rocky, but I think it is getting better. I may be able to forgive them someday, but that day is far in the future. Now for some top comments. I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you are doing what you believe is best for you. Despite everything, you sense to have grown into a great person. Good luck, love. Indeed, Opie has grown into a good and mature adult because of her own innate personality and her grandparents' care. A lot of people would have fallen under the weight of their parents' abandonment, the mortality of their sibling, and other issues that crops up for most teenagers, or have turned into a spiteful person. However, Opie is making peace with everything and settling strong and reasonable boundaries with her egg and sperm daughters. So glad to hear it, Opie. Book recommendation: Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. It's not a replacement for therapy, but can help in a recovery of the loss of the parental relationship. Yes, I can recommend this book as well. My psychologist and I read it, and it helped me realize why my parents don't feel like parents, but more like brother/sister. I remember your original post, and it was so sad and broke my heart. It was also so mind-blowing. I don't know if it worked out entirely, but it's great to hear an update. A second one would be great too. I think it's good you're getting therapy personally just for your peace of mind. That's the most important. I do hope you can develop some sort of relationship beyond working with your parents. But the past does bear weight in the present and future, and it's unrealistic to just forget. Your feelings are valid, and it's good you're working through it for yourself. Hopefully, everything works out and they don't endanger any more of your emotional stability. The fact you're trying says a lot of good about you, and your parents' response says a lot less to me. In my opinion, parents who really care and probably aren't are/raised by narcissists wouldn't have this reaction and would do everything to make amends for their mishandling of the past. While I understand they were in a bind, they still handled their situation wrong and poorly in my opinion. Good luck, stay safe. Hope college/university works out well for you. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for liking my stepdad but not my stepmom? I'll probably sound like a witch, but that's life. My 16 female parents, 36 female and 40 male, divorced when I was 12. In all honesty, their marriage was so sucky that it took me 6 months and my mother having to explain it twice for me to realize they were separating. And even then, I didn't particularly care. Important information: both my parents cheated and got together with their affair partners. Dad cheated during their entire marriage with different women, but my mom cheated with my current stepdad for a year before they divorced. The situation by itself sucks, but there's no use finding someone to blame when the fault lays on both of them, so I'll just present the issue. I absolutely hate my stepmom, 37 female. She's unpleasant to me whenever I'm around. Bossy, always trying to goad me into arguments so that when I lose my temper, she can go and cry to my dad that I'm being mean to her. If I didn't know that woman absolutely hates children, I wouldn't be surprised if she tried to get my dad have a do-over baby. As if that would work. Dad got a vasectomy after I was born. However, I really like my stepdad, 34 male. He's genuinely nice to me, balances that careful balance between not really trying to parent me, but still being a reasonable authority figure, think like an uncle, and listens to me ramble about my hobbies without being judgmental. I also feel like the way they treat my parents actually matters in my perception of them. Stepmom treats dad like an ATM machine, but gets upset whenever he spends money on anything else. And stepdad treats my mom like she's the love of his life. And I don't know, I like seeing my mom so happy. My problem started on Father's Day. I made 2 posts on my Instagram where I honored both my dad and stepdad. Each of them had their own posts with different wordings to explain our relationships. Sometime later, I got a call from my dad making an issue out of it. Not because I made my stepdad a post, but because when it was Mother's Day, I only posted my mother and not stepmom, and she felt excluded and unloved. I explained my reasoning, but I'm still getting crap over it to this day. And both my dad and stepmom are low-key pressuring me to make a post about her this year. I'm sick and tired of this, y'all. And I just want to know if I'm the a-hole here because I'm starting to wonder if I'm in the wrong. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You were allowed your feelings. You wanted to say something nice about your stepdad, You don't have anything nice to say about your stepmom. So you didn't say anything at all. You can probably change the custody agreement if there is one, because at your age, what you say should work out. They really can't stop you. Not the a-hole. Stand your ground. Write a letter with numbered points as to the crap your stepmom has been doing to you when you are around. Then remind your dad that you are the child and she is an adult. And if she is upset that she didn't get a shout out on Mother's Day, then she needs to read your points for the explanation. Do not give in, because she'll continue crying to your dad whenever you post or do something for someone else because you didn't do anything for her. Here is your mantra. No one is entitled to receive anything from you, whether it's a gift or a shout out on social media. Nah, forget the letter. Put the crap she does in the Mother's Day post she's so desperate for. The picture should be a nice wilted bunch of yellow roses. Yellow for friendship, because she's thoroughly killed any desire Opie might have to be her friend. She should finish with, if you want me to care for you like I do my stepfather and make public posts about how great you are, you need to try being a decent human being to me. Maybe even try being nice to me on occasion. So, happy Mother's Day. I hope you like your post. Not a hole. You should record her secretly being mean to you and then post that on Mother's Day. Then anytime afterward, if you ever have to deal with her and she starts acting up, just say, sweet, more material for my next Mother's Day post. Or just generally malicious compliance of, my stepmother told me I needed to post about her this year for Mother's Day. She said, add whatever mean things she's most recently said, if I didn't part anything. And then write a really amazing one about your mom. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my husband for how he reacted to the news of my brother's death? My brother passed away 2 weeks ago. He was in the hospital for weeks. He was very sick. During that time, I was very stressed out and worried a lot. I was busy with work, the house, my son, and my brother. My husband works from home and I work long hours. When I got home from the hospital, I argued with my husband about an issue. Instead of talking to me like an adult, he suddenly stopped talking to me and started texting me saying, that way we can have a civil talk. He'd do it all day knowing I'm stressed out and don't have time for this. Whenever I ask him to do something or ask him about our son, he'd stay silent and type his response in text then send it to me. He only talks to our son and has taken over house chores, but he doesn't talk to me directly. I'm not gonna lie, it made me feel awful because at the time I really needed to talk to somebody and he was being unreasonable. I ignored him, thinking he'll quit doing it soon. 2 weeks ago, at 7 in the morning, I received a call from my mother telling me that my brother just passed away. It was an awful, devastating moment for me. I was in shock, but calm enough to give my husband the news. I told him my brother just passed away. He was still in bed at the time but was on his phone. His reaction was that he looked at me for a few seconds, then started typing on his phone. My phone was still in my hand when I received a text from him saying, I'm sorry, and that's it. Didn't speak to me even after hearing the news. I didn't expect to do that. I lost it. I blew up at him and I started crying. I called his behavior unreasonable, and his reaction to this devastating news was awful. I was hurt, and he finally spoke up and said that he's the one who's hurt, and that I shouldn't have blown up at him because it wasn't his fault my brother died. He then left the room. A few minutes later, he started knocking on the door, apologizing and trying to say he didn't mean to make me feel bad. I got ready and I went to my mom's house. He called and texted, but I didn't respond. My mom asked about him and told me I shouldn't lash out at him because that will never solve the issue. After I told her. Not the a-hole. At a moment to prove that he was your partner, there to support you in one of the worst moments of your life, he chose his wants and how he felt. Text him your divorce lawyer's number. This is horrifying. I lost a sister a few years ago. I was in shock for an hour or so after. Somehow, it wasn't until I called my boss to tell him I would be out of work for a while that it slammed down on me. I was in a gas station parking lot, on my way to my mom's. A woman pumping gas came over to me, asked if I needed help, and when I said my sister was dead, she embraced me and cried with me for several minutes. A complete stranger in a dark parking lot offered me more love and support than Opie's husband. The man is a complete monster. I'm genuinely horrified at how he treats you. Your brother died, and instead of hugging you and giving you comfort of any kind, he freaking texted you right in front of your face? This would end my marriage. To be this petty after hearing about my brother's death is just cruel. I'm so sorry for your loss, and for the fact your husband is more interested in winning an argument with you than consoling you. Not an a-hole. Stonewalling is one of the greatest predictors of divorce. 1. Criticism. 2. Contempt. 3. Defensiveness. 4. Stonewalling. Yeah, I'd say Opie's husband is ticking each of the 4 horsemen of divorce pretty neatly. Not an a-hole. You dealt with his bizarre, thoroughly immature behavior for 2 weeks, and when he carried on with it at one of your most vulnerable moments, you couldn't hold back. I get it. I get it all day. I'm really sorry for your loss. I hope things at home get better soon. You can't be dealing with all that nonsense at the moment. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for telling my nephew the truth that no one in the family likes him? This involves me, 25 male, my sister Diana, 31 female, and her son Darius, 10 male. I get along with my sister Diana fine, but I won't pretend I like Darius. I think he's an entitled brat who has gotten away with crap for too many times. I don't think Diana's ever reprimanded him, and every time the little turd acts up, Diana makes excuses for him. He's already been suspended from school for stealing. He's a bully to all his cousins, and I know for a fact no one in my family likes him at all. Both of my parents cannot stand him. My mother, a woman who could find a love in her heart to babysit a honey badger, refuses to watch Darius at all because of his behavior. My father will take all of the grandkids out to fish every few months except for Darius, because he's too tempted to throw him out into the lake and drive off. His words, not mine. On Monday, I got a call from my sister who panicked because she got called into work. Darius was out of school and her babysitter was not available. No one else in the family will watch Darius, so I told her to drop him off and I would watch him. It was a nightmare. Darius was mad he had to spend his day off at my place. He refused to do anything I offered, made a mess in my bathroom, harassed my dog, and had a tantrum because I would not let him use my work computer to play games. By lunchtime, I was frustrated beyond all belief. I made him mac and cheese and he demanded I take him to Wendy's. He refused to eat and eventually dumped his bowl of food on my floor. At that, I just kinda lost it. I didn't yell or get aggressive at all. I just sighed and asked him if he realized that everyone in the family literally despised him. I explained that he was at my house because Grandma and Grandpa cannot stand him, and in fact refused to let him come to their house because he acts like a little turd. I won't lie, I got pretty brutal. He started crying and locked himself in my bathroom until I came out and sat and watched TV till my sister came and got him. I told her what happened, and I and her got into a massive argument as well. She called me cruel and I told her that she is to blame, and he would have learned eventually. My family split on this. My dad thinks the little turd deserved it, while my siblings have mixed opinions. My mother has told me she's staying out of this, but if I feel the need to apologize, do it and move on. What do you people think? Edit. A little info. We've talked to Diana about this before. My parents had her down and told her they will not watch Darius because of how he behaved, and that she needs to do something else. We've all had talks with her about him bullying his cousins. She has done nothing. Not the a-hole in my opinion. He's still young enough to change if he wants to. If everyone keeps the truth from him, he'll try going through life being an awful human, and will get some seriously rude awakenings from people who aren't family. People are more likely to change if you point out that their behavior makes it hard to be around them. If you say everyone in your family hates you, they're more likely to have unfortunate outcomes that are not changing that behavior. It might be just as cruel for this, not the a-hole. He's gonna have to learn one way or another and his mother isn't doing anything. Maybe the reality check will help? I doubt it. He's probably too far gone at this point. Don't bother watching him again. The mother got herself into this mess. She should get herself out. You are 25 years old. He is 10. Is he behaving like a jerk because your sister has no idea how to parent? Yes. Should you enforce boundaries with your nephew when he is in your care? Absolutely. But that's not what you did. You bullied a child. Your behavior is awful and everyone in the family despises when you act this way. It makes it hard to be around you. It means that you are left out. It's very, very different than everyone in the family despises you. You can change your behavior. Telling someone how their behavior impacts how others feel can be a great catalyst for change. Telling someone, especially a literal child, that they themselves are hated by their family is demoralizing, demeaning, cruel, and generally does nothing to encourage change. Clearly, you are an emergency babysitter, and you are still very young and likely not trained to deal with a problem child in a calm manner, but this was out of line and harmful. You need to speak to your sister. Apologize to your nephew if you can, and then explain what you meant to address was his behavior, not him. Because there are plenty of studies that show that kids who feel that they're unloved do not improve, and there are a lot of horrific outcomes to that. Everyone sucks here, yes, but bullying a child, you're the a-hole. Telling someone the hard truth is not bullying. My God, I was bullied constantly as a kid, and even I realized that it could have been much worse. How peaceful was your childhood that you think someone being honest, even if it's mean, is bullying? Next story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my child to give up her room? My fiancé and I are moving in together. We decided that she should be the one to move in with us, since my home is bigger and in a better area. I have a 14-year-old daughter and she has 2 daughters who are 14 and 16. I live in a 2-bedroom home. A few years ago, I finished the basement and added a bathroom to it and gave it to my daughter. The other room is my office that I was planning to turn into a bedroom for my fiancé's daughters. It's a small room, but it's nice, and it can fit 2 beds, especially if we add a bunk bed instead of 2 twin beds. And it doesn't have a bathroom, but we don't live in a palace, so it is not that far away from the bathroom. My fiancé and I have been talking about the room situation and we don't seem to be able to agree on anything. She thinks I'm an a-hole for planning to let my daughter have the entire basement for herself and force hers to share a small room. I think this has been my daughter's room for years. She decorated it with her mom and therefore she shouldn't have to give it up. Obviously her family's on her side and my family's on my side, so we want other opinions as well. Halt. Hard stop and do not go farther with this relationship. We know you will, of course, because you don't see that this is the beginning of a lifelong problem. The only way for this relationship to survive is to move into a different house with equivalent bedrooms for the kids. What would that be? Not sure, but I know it isn't your current setup. You are in a completely no-win situation and you will be the a-hole either to your daughter or your fiancé and her children. Yeah, I just want to weigh in as someone whose parent did this. Moved into a 3-bedroom house with 3 kids. I haven't spoken to them in months, and I don't see them in holidays. It caused a lot of resentment. You're the a-hole for moving 5 people into a 2-bedroom home with a basement. I read a comment where you said this house is suitable for you all. No, it's not. The fact you're even having this argument with your significant other proves it's not suitable for you all. This was your daughter's home first. Making her share or give up her basement room will cause her to resent all of you, and would be vastly unfair to displace her in her own home. However, squeezing 2 teenage girls into a tiny room is also an a-hole move. Your home is not suitable at all. Although question, is your bedroom bigger than the smaller room? If so, give up your room to the incoming 2 teenagers and you and your significant other share the smaller room. If not, get a bigger home. Maybe they can't afford a bigger home at the moment. Pockets aren't endlessly deep. I do agree this needed more planning and forethought from OP. It is a no-win a-hole situation here for him. But shoulda, woulda, coulda right now isn't going to fix his situation, especially if moving isn't an option right now. Swapping his and his partner's room to give his stepdaughters a bigger space might be the only good compromise right now, but will still cause tension. Maybe doing that and calling a family meeting and planning for the move and laying it all out on the table is best, though a soft Yorty a-hole for the poor planning is fair. Coming from a smaller home myself and never moving, I understand having to make the best of a lame duck. Then they can't afford to move in together. I was fully not the a-hole until I started reading your comments. You have already made up your mind. You don't think your daughter should give up her room, fair enough, but you also don't want to come up with another plan. I think you should give up the master bedroom and give that room to the 2 girls to share, and you take the small bedroom, or move somewhere else. It's not fair to take what was your daughter's and just give it to her step-siblings, but it's also not okay to not at least try to make it even for them. I think they need to call up the whole thing. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I won't go anywhere with him if his wife is there? My 38 female parents got divorced about 14 years ago after my father had been having an affair with his current wife Brenda for 5 years. Not only this, but he was absolutely horrible to my mom in the process and really screwed her over. I was angry with him and went no contact with him for 4 years after. My grandfather on my dad's side before he passed away told me to try and make amends with my father. As I loved him very much, I agreed to try. I slowly tried to build a relationship back with him and things have been okay, but strained because trusting him has been hard. I also don't like Brenda. I did try, but we have nothing in common. She's a very gossipy person who talks trash about so many people, and I'm more interested in world events and science and psychology. I lived nearby until about 3 years ago and made an effort to see them once a month. I have now moved a 4-hour drive away and can only get up once or twice a year to visit. On one visit a couple years back, Brenda started talking about my half-sister from my mom, saying if she had raised her, sister wouldn't have had all the problems she did, and that my mom was wrong in how she managed her mental illness. Without going into as much detail, my sister has BPD and was very hard to manage in her childhood, and after years of trying to get her help and her running away, my mom agreed to let her go live with other family as she asked. It was either that or she was going to live in a group home most likely. I snapped at Brenda, saying she wasn't there and she has no idea what she was talking about. I was young, but I remember all the pain my family was going through and how hard it was for mom to let her go. Since then, every time we have gone out together, Brenda refused to talk to me. She won't respond if I say hello, she stares at her phone, and talks to my dad as if I'm not there. I ask him to say something about it because it's rude and uncomfortable, and he just says he can't tell her what to do and we need to work it out. I told him if that's the case, I will only visit with him and not if she's around. He says I'm being dramatic, and if Brenda isn't invited, he won't come either. I told him if he won't leave her behind, then he won't be seeing me anymore either. I love him, but I'm not going to let her disrespect me anymore. He's making me feel like I'm being an a-hole because I want to see him, but I don't want to let her treat me this way. Editing to add, for those asking why dad doesn't come visit me, I live on my mom's property and would never even consider having him here, let alone Brenda. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Don't let people into your life that treat you poorly, family or not. Looks like it is time for Opie to go back to no contact with dad and his wife. Not the a-hole. OMG. So Brenda behaves in a horrible way towards you, but your dad can't be bothered to do the right thing and see you without her? You don't need that level of BS in your life. You're not the a-hole. Your dad and Brenda are massive ones though. I mean, the dad carried on a 5-year-long affair on his wife. It wasn't really a debate if he was an a-hole. Not the a-hole. How dare Brenda talk? Who does she think she is? Your father seems to have made his choice. It's time for you to choose. I don't understand how he can choose Brenda over you, his own child. I just want her to be more respectful to me, and even if it's just small talk, to not pretend I'm not there. He said I'm just acting like a victim, and I said no, I'm just not going to be here. Dude, you are a victim of a father who chose his lust over his family and who does it again now. You have a right to act like that. Last story. Am I the a-hole for banning my girlfriend from bringing my friend's ex over to my house? Recently, a friend of mine, Anthony, and his wife, Carly, went through a pretty nasty divorce. They had a child together about 1.5+ years ago, and things just weren't working between them. There were some issues with attraction. He felt it was getting monotonous. He was interested in pursuing other relationships, and ending up finding a spark with a then coworker who's now his girlfriend, and the whole thing was just a mess. She did end up getting child support and alimony, but there were issues with how his family structures their trust, which meant she left a lot on the table. Still, even now, it's not like she's actually below the poverty line or anything, so it's whatever. I didn't think we would be seeing much more of her, since she's my friend's wife who we weren't particularly close with, and there's no real reason why we would need to have any more contact than him, given that she was his wife. However, my girlfriend has been getting together and commiserating with her for some reason, and now their conflict, which I have deliberately kept away from, is now bleeding into my life too. My girlfriend keeps bringing up how unfair what my friend did was, how he's barely paying anything while they struggle, etc., etc., despite me saying that it's none of our business repeatedly. She's constantly passive-aggressive towards Anthony, even though he hasn't done anything to her. She's even brought Carly over while me and Anthony were hanging out, saying she's her friend, and she's allowed to have guests. As you can guess, this has led to some heated arguments. She's glad to know he's having fun eating edibles and playing video games with children. Yes, she even referred to me and our other friend as children to our face. We're both 22, while Carly's exhausted taking care of their child alone, etc. Now, keep in mind, this is my house. My parents gifted me this condo when I graduated, and I pay all the utility bills. I'm letting my girlfriend stay here because her roommate didn't want to renew the lease. She's trying to frame this like I'm not letting her see her friends, which is absurd. She's clearly 100% in the wrong here, right? Am I the a-hole, or is she for trying to bring this woman into our home? So, your friend dumped his wife when life got monotonous after the birth of his child. He fought hard to make sure that she and his child got the minimum of what he had to pay them. Your girlfriend thought this stunk and isn't afraid to say so, while you go hang out with your bro. You're the a-hole. Find better friends, and learn about how to stand up for what's right from your girlfriend. Gentle you're the a-hole to girlfriend because she shouldn't bring ex over while a-hole is actually there. That is not always a safe move. He lasted a whole 1.5 months after his child was born. My friend is a cheater and my girlfriend knows it and is upset I keep that type of company. There, I fixed the title for you. You're the a-hole. So, you're on the side of the guy who got bored with his wife and left her to date a coworker after she had a baby? And you think you get to decide who your live-in girlfriend is friends with and invites over? How would you react if she told you to not invite Anthony over because she's really uncomfortable to see you supporting someone with that view for relationships? I mean, I'd be unhappy if my husband was pro dump your wife and newborn for a new side piece. So why should you expect her to be okay with your questionable friendship? In other words, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. My house that my parents bought me. Also, your friend thought having a wife/child was monotonous, so he cheated with a coworker. He now pays limited child support while she struggles to raise the child. If I were your girlfriend, I would be very aware of what you consider none of your business. Also, that you don't consider it odd that he can come over anytime and it's whatever, but you can't have her friend over. If it's truly none of your business and you're not taking sides, either should be fully welcome.